What's up, everybody? It is Sunday, April 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's right, every Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do it live. Saturdays are educational, and Sundays are the Write a Book With Me series. And we are officially, if not excitingly, on episode 68. That's right, we've been basically doing this for 68 hours. I've been writing a book from concept, and we are working our way to completion. We are getting close. Because we are in the first draft. Before we jump into the happy and holies of everything, let's just say hi to everyone. Welcome, you finally made it. Woohoo! I'm really excited. Thank you so much for being here. Angel Faye, always a pleasure. I hope sirens were down this week. You know, we're always thinking about you. Flowers, flowers. It's SB. Oh, SB gets a special little. All right, let's get into it. All right, the polls. We'll get into the polls. If you don't know, every Sunday I do this Write a Book With Me from concept to completion, and we get all these lovely people that join us every week, such as Emma. Ciao, Bella. How you doing, beard? Looking good. Yeah, I dressed it up a little bit, just a little bit. But if this is your first time here and you've never been here before, what do we do? Well, it's very simple. I've been writing with a process called the Thomas J. Bellezza process. This is not the best process in the world. It's just my process. I am in no way saying this is the process you must follow. It is just giving you an inside look to the process itself of how I write. That's right. I write in real time. You're going to see me writing on the screen. None of this off to the side. You're actually going to be able to watch it. I talk through the process, and more importantly, you could ask me questions about what I'm doing, my choices, everything, including asking me questions about your own book. Why? Because I'm a developmental editor and a writing teacher. So it's like free advice. If you haven't seen the earlier episodes, we basically went through the first 9 steps of the process very quickly, might I add. But we are currently on first draft, prose and dialogue, which means we are in chapter 2.1. We're actually kind of close to the end. Before we get into that, though, we do have a poll every day, every weekend. Hey, what's up, Em? Emma. So if you don't know, the poll this week is what makes you fall in love with the story you're writing? We have 4 options, as always. There is no wrong answer. And we talk about it at the end of the hour. Right now, we have 4 choices. Do you like complex, layered characters? Characters that have depth and aren't just there to perform the tasks of the plot? 2, do you like a gripping, fast, or strong plot? All right, fast is like it's thrilling, it's going, it's moving, or it's just a strong plot where you're just like, oh, it's intricate. I kind of like the depth of it. And then, of course, we have beautiful lyrical prose when you're writing. Do you really love to see your prose working out? It doesn't necessarily have to be lyrical. It could just be you love prose. And then, of course, deep emotional truth, where what you're writing about has substance and isn't just things happening. Very good, very good. Ooh, what do we got? Wait, look, all the M's are here, and Diana. All right, we're jumping into it today because I just feel like we gotta get into the writing. Last week we did some good writing, but again, if this is your first time here, remember, this is a first draft. I'm not looking to write the greatest stuff on earth. I'm not trying to write literature right now, because great writing is rewriting. It means that we have to put the work into it. But what I like to do is stages. I do a little here, a little there, and so forth and so forth. The second draft, I'm going to put a little bit more depth into these prose. But right now, I'm just trying to get out the rhythm of the chapter. As you can see, we're flying through it. These are extended, or these are a 0 draft notes. So I do a 0 draft that looks sort of like an outline, but you know, I basically say what needs to happen, what doesn't need to happen. And then I'm going to ultimately continue to write towards these events. So that's where we are right now. I really need to buckle down and write on my story instead of just thinking about it. Look, you always hear, you go, just write the story. And honestly, the reason that's good advice is because the first thing you write is not going to be the greatest thing ever, right? But once you put the work into it, then you could start molding it and forming it and start creating all the changes. Because that's, again, writing is Great writing is rewriting, right? So the only way to get there is you got to start. And if the worry or the fear is it's not going to be good, throw that out the window. Writing, oh, you can't write perfect. No one writes perfect the first time. Even I've been in rooms with screenwriters that have been doing it forever, and they still have to work the script. I've been with writers that have been doing it forever, and they still have to work it. So just get to it, make it happen, get those words out, and you'll be surprised. I'm here for the nitty gritty. Accepted. I stayed overnight with my mother and sister, but I'm not going home today. Thank you for letting us know that, Hannah. I appreciate it. Takes a lot of energy to write. You know, I agree. If I may, before I get started writing, let me say something, Diana. This is for everybody out there, okay? Yes, I'll take a sip. Hear me out. You don't have to write everything. You don't even have to write prose. Did you know you could write a single line for every chapter? I've used this example before. I think I mentioned it yesterday, but let me just throw it out to you because I don't remember you being on the live yesterday. So if you look at the Hunger Games, it's 27 chapters long. And if you break the Hunger Games down into a simple idea, a teenager must fight in the Hunger Games, every chapter has a single line of what happens. Chapter 1 is literally Katniss and her family, and she hunts, and it's the day of the reaping. Chapter 2 is the literal reaping. That's all the line has to be. Look, when you're writing, you could literally be like this. Chapter 1, Katniss and her family living in the poorest territory. I think that's what it is, right? Territory. All right, and then you go chapter 2, the reaping, where Katniss volunteers. Okay, and then chapter 3 is Katniss says goodbye to everyone. And then chapter 4 is Katniss on the train to the capital and arrives. Chapter 5 is, I'm doing this from memory. Chapter 5 is the parade. The parade at the camp. All right. So, Diana, when you're writing, if writing itself takes a lot of energy than you, what is the least amount of energy you can do is just simply write a quick sentence that explains what that chapter is going to be about. Believe it or not, when it comes to writing, it's not always about, you know, there's this troll and the troll has this family. And oh, by the way, it's really important that we learn that the troll's sister was also a worshiper of the green trees and the cousin was a worshiper of the red. That stuff is really great for building the world. And that's the deeper stuff you're writing. But at the end of the day, there's always something important. There's always the through narrative. So if you could pour the through narrative, which is also known as the true narrative or the central conflict, into a single sentence for each thing, that at least gives you a starting point. And it allows you to start getting into the rhythm of writing and the rhythm of narrative. And you could look at things. Does it connect? This is the beautiful part. Katniss and a family preparing, of course, and the reaping happens because it arrives, okay? On the day of the reaping. This, I would have to do this. But it's not that long of a sentence, right? Katniss and her family live in the poorest territory. It's the day of the reaping. Okay? All right? And the rhythm is, now we go to the reaping. And because she volunteered, well, now she has to say goodbye. And because she said goodbye, she has to now get on the train to get there. And you could start seeing in simple lines how the narrative is connecting to each other, maintaining logical narrative movement before you get into prose, before you get into, I mean, let's be honest, this trip on the train, she meets the guy, I can't remember his name, but she meets the guy who's like her mentor, and he's an alcoholic, and he's basically like saying, you're not gonna, you're gonna die. The Hunger Games is, no one wins. It's very difficult, right? Like, what's the point? That doesn't necessarily have to be there. We just need to know that Katniss is on the train to the capital and arrives. All that other stuff, All that other stuff can come as you work the chapters and work the story. But at the end of the day, sometimes this is all you need. Just to allow yourself to let that writing out. Anyway, hope that helped, my friend. I wasn't on live yesterday. We missed you. I assure you, we missed you. I am editing my Angel, but now I've started to throw the odd line into book 4 outlines. It's been fun to see the PPEs building. Well, that gets me excited. I've been working on my breaks and commute. 15 minutes here, an hour there. It's working. Let's give you a big applause. I'm super happy. Super happy for you, SB. How would I plot a murder mystery story with the 3-act structure? First things first, what is the murder? So you start with the actual murder. Don't worry about how they solve it. Just start with the murder. How does the murder happen? Okay? So then, once you understand what the murder is, then you can start figuring out what the clues are and how they discover those clues. And then you spread that out into the narrative. If you're going to use a 3-act structure, it's typically before the murder, the murder, and then do they solve the murder or not? Or rather, it's before the case, and do they solve the case? The ordinary world of Act 1 is really about establishing the character and getting into that world that there's murder and blah, 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 right? Like living in that environment. But since it's a murder mystery, Act 2 would really play with it. I'm not going to go over a complete a structure of plotting a murder mystery out, but to be fair, if you're using the 27 plot point outline, plot point 1 is before the murder even is figured out. Plot point 2 is at least the discovery or the assignment of getting the character, the detective or whoever, into the fray of the story, and so forth and so forth. I would highly recommend watching murder mysteries. But you got this. I slept through the live yesterday. That's all right. No one judges you, my friend. All right, let's get into the writing. Let's get into the writing. All right. Are they coming this way? I lean closer. I leaned closer to the blurry video. Having screen. They're heading this way. They're coming this way. All right. There was something that I wanted to change. I wanted to adjust something last week. So that's what we're thinking about this week. We're thinking about that adjustment. And the adjustment is I want to get Felix in on this. So Felix, you okay out there? All right. All right. Let me open screen. I forget how many people were supposed to be in the gang. I think it's 5. All right. Again, when I'm writing a first draft, I'm not thinking about like too crazy details. I'm not thinking about immersion as much. I'm just trying to get what is the rhythm of the shots? What are we seeing? So that's really what I'm doing. All right. All right. Okay. So what am I trying to set up? I want to kind of that's how they got in. So they're using Felix to have gotten into the ship, and now they're onto the ship. All right, one of them in tossed. Felix to the ground, stepping in. All right. All right. Let's see. Still have to name the ship. So a lot of times with world building and like the little details, and I know I say this often, but again, I'm saying it as if some people haven't seen anything before. But the idea is I'm not going to waste my time on names and world building right now. This is a first draft. I wouldn't even waste it on zero draft. It's not super important yet. Second, maybe third draft would definitely have names solidified, some ideas, but I want to leave room for the world building and maybe like the mechanics of the biology of these aliens, because they're all aliens. There are no humans in this story. Um, what that'll do is just change like the physicality of how people move and what they do and maybe the descriptions. So the reason I'm not paying attention to that now is because the first draft for me is to take the zero draft skeleton and start building movement to it and start trying to figure out who these characters are through their behavior. Um, that all gets more clears up the further I get to the end of the book of the first draft, which then dictates how I'm going to go back and now use that information to fill in the beginning of the book in my second draft. I don't know who these characters are. I have an idea of who they are. I have a play on who they are. I kind of have arcs that we work down in the outline. But the way I do it, even though I love outlines and I use thick outlines, I am not beholden to the outline. As I discover and develop the characters, I'm going to adjust and change. I just did it now. Originally, we didn't. First of all, we didn't have a name for Felix, but he was not supposed to be on the ship right now. He was left behind, and they were loading up the ship. And now I change it to they aren't loading up the ship. Why? Because logically, why would she be getting ready for another trip? She just crashed the ship, and they're fixing the ship. So I had to adjust the idea. Because in an outline, some things feel very smooth and make sense. It's when you start getting into the deep of working on the zero draft and even the first draft, you're going to start seeing the cracks, and that's good, right? It's not something to worry about or be frustrated like, oh, this isn't how I foreseen it. You want to allow the story to go where you want. Now, to be fair, you can say I don't like where it's going, and it is different than the outline, and I want it to feel more like the outline. So then you have to go back and do the work and try to adjust it as you can. I'm watching a murder mystery now. Fantastic. I left off with deciding on the paintings and the victims, how they tie back to my female main character. Each painting has iconography and meaning that the killer uses to send her messages. I love it. I'm going to give you an applause for that. That's fantastic. That's sexy. Keep it working, my friend. Amen. Okay. Amen. Okay. Where, oh, where? Do something. All right. Thank you. You're welcome, my friend. FBI is one of my favorite shows. Hannah, have you checked out James Patterson's books? His Alex Cross books are good. I don't know if you know the show what is CIA? It just started. It has Tom Ellison on it from Lucifer. My friend was just on that show. She played Hunter, the woman with the dog that discovers the body or something like that on the last episode. Very cute. All right. Amen. How about system for a ship name? It will be interesting. Oh, like the ship's name is System? Something to think about. What I was thinking of is that the name is connected to Laura is named like Laura has named the computer, if that makes sense. But System, I get that, but I want to have Laura like give it a name because there's an arc to their relationship, the computer and Laura's relationship. So I want it to be connected to like a name, you know. Oh, I have that one on the to be watched list. My mom loves Tom Ellison. Not gonna lie, I think I do too. Detective. All right. System, though, by the way, very interesting way to go about it. I think that would be a cool name, my friend. Cool name. Cool name. What's happening there? Oh. I don't know what's going on. You mean? Boop, 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 boom. Okay, let's do this. The rest of the gang gets into the ship. We did that already. Laura tells the ship to do something. All right. Fun fact. It can also be an arc. Hey! I got her hooked on Lucifer. I've watched Lucifer far too many times, and I still want to watch it. All right. So normally I wouldn't use the word then. Then's my chair. I would avoid that in the final thing. But again, when I'm working on my first draft, I'm just trying to get a rhythm and an idea of everything. In my head, though, like the way I'm looking at this, I want to go inside. You know, like I want to sit inside her. I want to know what her emotions are. I want to know how she's feeling about it. I want her opinions. But right now, I'm just sticking to the blocking, the dialogue, and maintaining the movement of the plot. It's just the way I like to write. Do I go deep in? Sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I feel a moment and I'm like, oh, I kind of know what she's thinking, but I do not stress on it. If I don't get there, it's not a big deal. I love that show. It's a very good show. Cockpit is one word. Oh, it is. Oh. Cockpit. What if I'm writing a romance? All right. I've been derailed. I think I just call it a pit. Right? I call it a pit. Yeah, I just call it the pit. All right. I'm gonna call it a pit again down here. Pit door. Just for consistency. Laura might call the ship like Ceci, like sis, because her sister is a voice actor and has lent her voice to the tech. Oh, that's cute. That's a cute little thing. Her Laura and her sister don't really get along that well though, so like that would be and Laura's sister's much younger. But I like that. That right there. That's a good writer's moment right there. I really like how you kind of connected those things because then it allows the system or even the name to have a little bit more depth and emotion. So that's a really strong instinct right there. I love the way your mind just kind of put those things together. Feel those instincts. Follow that. Follow that when you're thinking your own stories. That's a good instinct. Very good. I'm derailed by Pitt. See, it is no. It's an interesting idea, but again, we are. This is the thing. When we come up with ideas for our narratives, we have to remember there is the idea because this is a really great idea. I love right off the bat the emotional connection is interesting to me. I love the play on words. That's interesting to me. Right? There are things that are interesting about this that I as a writer am also deeply connecting to instantly. Sis, the voice actor element connected to the sister. It plays all excellent. The issue though is when we come up with ideas, there is the author's idea, and then there's the narrative idea. And the narrative idea has to win, right? There are certain things that I really wanted to do in Death of a King, the first book in the Maven Wars. There are things that like I was like, I need this in the book. And I had them in my outlines, and I had it in my brainstorming. And then I got into the narrative, and then I started getting into those moments, and I had to take stuff out. I had to take a lot of the stuff that I was like, this will be awesome, or I really want this, because it wasn't connecting to the narrative truth. It wasn't connecting to the characters. It wasn't connecting to the plot. It wasn't connecting to the world. We have to maintain a consistency to that connection narratively. So I have zero qualms about this idea. This is a fantastic idea. I'm standing by that. But it does not connect to the narrative that we are telling. The sister issue. The sister's really young. The sister, they don't really get along. She's not a voice actor. She doesn't even know she doesn't even know what she wants to do. She's still very young. The other thing is, we have to allow Laura to give the system a name. Most likely, it's going to be a name that is condescending, because they don't get along. The computer and her do not get along. And the arc is that by the end of the story, they are like, I missed you. And I can't, like, because she loses the ship. And they're like, oh, I can't believe it. So it kind of connects to that. And now the name that was condescending is actually a name that connects to admiration. So there are things you have to think about when you're coming up with ideas. I'm not saying this just for you. I'm saying this just in general for writers. Is a lot of times there are really great ideas that we come up with, but if they come off as author ideas, they're going to stand out of the narrative, and it's important to connect. I'll say this much: when I was in writer rooms for screenplays, there were a lot of great ideas people would throw out. They were just like boom, 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 and it'd be like, oh, that's so good. And sometimes you'd play with them to mold them into working, but a lot of the times it was just great ideas, and we can't use it for that thing, right? And it's like, well, hold that idea, keep that idea, work that idea, but maybe not for this. And that's an important tool to have in your arsenal as an author, is to say, this is a great idea, but I'm realizing it's not connected to what I am doing now, and that's important. I'll give one other quick aside to that. I was working on a project where it was about basically Brooklyn. It was about Brooklyn, and each of the characters had like an addiction kind of element to them. So one was addicted to working out, one was addicted to alcohol, one was addicted to lying. They were a pathological liar. One was addicted to the sex. One was addicted to drugs. One was addicted, right? So they all had an addictive problem. And we had someone there that was sort of giving us ideas, and every single idea they gave us was not in that realm or vein. So it had nothing to do with a mental addiction or a system of control. It was always like, it'd be cool if the cop. By the way, there was no cops, but they're like, if the cop was really in control of everything, and like they turn out to be the person that's manipulating everybody, and we're like, oh well, this character is actually the one manipulating everybody, and there are no the cops aren't in this. Like, the cops are like, and they're like, yeah, but wouldn't it be cool? And we're like, yeah, that would be a cool twist. But you're giving us idea. It sounds like your ideas are for the story that you want to tell, and not necessarily serving the story that we're trying to tell. So that's another thing that you have to keep in mind as a creator, is like, am I serving the narrative? Because that's really our job as authors, is to serve the narrative. Or am I serving the ideas that I come up with? And you can go down a pretty crazy path if you serve the ideas and not the narrative. That's just an aside. Yes, a murder mystery can absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, be a fantasy. It could be fantasy, sci-fi, it could be anything. Anything. Yeah, it's a maze real quick, though. Do 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 do. Maybe Laura thinks her sister is a know-it-all. So is the computer. Ayo. Maybe. Now, there you go. You're trying to connect it there. I see what you're doing. Sexy. I like it. When I say sexy, that means a good. That's what we used to always say back in the day. It's like, oh, that's a sexy idea. That's good. Let's play it. Yeah. Uh, I like it though. I like it. All right, let's keep it going. They're almost to the pit. I said, rushing to the screen. I turned back to the door, then to the chair. Again, I normally wouldn't use then, but I'm just trying to get the rhythm out. Also, all these eyes. You see these eyes? Like it's I. It's first person. But I'm writing I. I'm using a lot of I, a lot of the. Um, all the well, A is fine. A lot of this will be changed in the second draft. I'm not really a fan of repetitive, you know, pronoun like he, or she, or I. I like to. I purposefully try to switch that up. But that's for me. If you want to do it, that's fine with you. I just don't like it. I like to create a rhythm of change and movement. I ran to the chair, buckling myself in. Wait, what is the line? Oh, anyway. Now Felix is the field navigator, but he's in the ship now. Um, so we could get rid of this beat. There it goes. All right. One of my favorite murder mystery shows is Death in Paradise. It's a cozy mystery kind of show. Death in Paradise. I feel like I've heard that. Death in Paradise. Oh yes. I haven't watched this show yet. Is this show like what's that other show? The Steve Martin murder show. Murder in the Building? 15 seasons. Have you ever seen Murder in the Building? If you like I haven't seen it yet, but I wanted to watch it. But I think it's all about murder mysteries. Steve Martin, Martin Short. It's Steve Martin and Martin Short. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, it's Selena. Yeah, Selena. My mom likes the Murder in the Building. It's a fun show. I have to watch it. I like the actors in it. So, all right, listen. She got me hooked on BritBox. Is BritBox where you can watch all the British shows? BritBox. Oh yeah. BritBox, the official European. All right, that's cool. BritBox. What are we at? 35 minutes. Wow, not bad. How much have I written so far? I've written like nothing. Yeah. That's what I thought. All right, let's do it. All right, the only one. Well. We liked Vera too, but the show ended last year. I love Vera. It was filmed around where I live. Oh, that's cool. That's always cool when shows are filming around here. Often, oh, you can't go down there. Scarlett and Duke is in the show. Meant to be home. And their romance. Can't go wrong with a little romance. We have Vera sandwiches often. Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. That's a funny. All right, I drew the handle back on my chair. I'm probably gonna change the chair. Let's change the chair. Something more specific. We'll get to that though. We'll get to that. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, this is a new movement because she's looking at the camera screens. All right. Let's see. Now, see all this? I'm probably going to go a little deeper with descriptions when I get to the second draft. I want to kind of make it a little bit more, roughy, but all right. We're getting into some intense action here. Let me just check something real quick. How are we looking with? We're at 723 word count. That's not bad with that. I think this one is what, 897. All right. It's gonna get a little longer. How much more do I got? All right. Okay. All right, so maybe I'll go a little bit into. All right. Again, this would be an example where I would change this sentence in the second draft, but I just want to get through the movement of it and the action. That's the weird part about writing sometimes, especially for me, is I do want to get into the nitty gritty. knit and grit. I do want to get into the detail. I do want to get into the internal stuff. But on my first draft, it's just hard to put so much time into those things when in reality, let's be honest, that stuff can wait, because again, and I've talked about this in length, but for anyone who doesn't know, the reason I like to approach it that way is because if I put a lot of time into the prose now and I build and expand on the ideas, and then as I build the story and I get to the end of the first draft's completion, and I'm like, oh, this is who the characters are, or these are things I need to seed. Then if I go back, it's already full. You know what I'm saying? And like a lot of it's going to change or at least be adjusted. And maybe I need to add some things. And now I have to really do the work because I got to remove stuff. So I like to keep it as thin as possible so that when I do go back, if it's a matter of just taking away a couple of lines, you know, like this dialogue right now, this will be easier to edit like that than if it was edited with action in there, which I probably will add more action beats. If it was internal thought, even stuff like this, oh yeah, not that dialogue. I want to go to a action. So like this, sirens blared following a high squeal. The outside microphone's coming on. Like even that, like I just want that beat right now. But if I go into the details of what it sounds like, how it's affecting her, all these other things, it'd be more of an issue to kind of work through the chapter later. Later. Um, Afghani, what's up, buddy? All right. Uh, do 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 do. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet and you're watching, I only need one more subscriber to hit 2,690. Hello, Afghani. Down, 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 down. Okay. Get off my lawn. You gotta look. You have to have a moment like that. It's my Harrison Ford moment. Okay. Get off my plane. All right. Okay. The only thing missing is the little old man shaking his. Get off my lawn, you son of a bitches! Get out of my pub, Peggy Mitchell. It's funny. Get off my pub. All right. Anyway, it's supposed to be the love interest. All right. Do 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 do. Anyway. It's the pre me cute. That's right. The pre me cute. That's right. Oh, I should. Yeah, I should definitely. Just for a note for me, this is the love interest. I should definitely leave that note there just so I know. I like the ship's personality. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to maintain like the ship is, you know. Not an a-hole, but where you're just like, you could always crash the ship. All right. Let's see. Because the field navigator, Felix, is in the ship now, she makes a few comments. This is basically gone. But the gangman. Yeah, it's a smart ass. Ships don't have hands. All right. All right. Where we at? 54 minutes? 54 minutes. Could I get this up there? Maybe I can finish this. All right. You haven't written in a while. What's the deal? I think that's a sign for me to do the gong. Come on, Afghani. You got this. You got this. You're at the pit door. That right there is my humor. This beat right here is just, where are they located? Boom, boom, boom. They're behind you. Or like in Naked Gun, where he's like, "Watch my back," and then someone hits his back twice, and he's like, "Your back was hit twice, sir." That got dark. Well, no, the computer made it dark. The computer made it dark. All right. There's a short story I've been thinking of polishing, written it a long time ago. Afghani, I'm all for this. Get on polishing that, sir. Do you need some soap? Baby is down for the night. Angel Faye, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. If you just vanish, you vanish. But I'm glad you stopped by today. Always. Hey, man. One last beat. Is it scraped or scrapped? Scraped. Is two P's? I think it's two P's, right? Scrape means to do. Oh, scrap is two P's. Okay, that's right. I got it right. Boom. All right. The middle of the pit's door scraped open. Is it muzzle? Gun muzzle. Two Z's. All right. What is it called? Oh, the yoke. That's what I was trying to think of. Okay. I drew the yoke back. Amen. There we go. There we go. All right, and then this note is make sure there's enough context information on the gang members. Maybe give them beats through. Well, all right. That I'm gonna leave here for later, but I might not need that. Okay, let's get to the word count. Boop. 1199. Here you go. 2,000. Look at that. 2,000 word chapter. Pretty excited about that chapter. Next time we will work on chapter 2.2, which will be this, and this will be them shooting at them and stuff like that. All right. Okay, there we go. There we go. Let's look at the chapter length so far. We got 2,100 words for chapter 1, 1,000 words for chapter 2, 1,300 for chapter 3, 2,000 for chapter 4. It's technically 4. And then, we haven't worked on that one. That's not bad. We're looking at 21,000 words so far. That's including all the other chapters and their zero draft word count. We're doing good. We're doing good. All right, there we go. Boom. I think we did good today. We did good today. We did good today. How many words did I write? Let's see. There's a lot of dialogue today, but I got 727 words. I got 727 words done today. I'm excited about that. Yeah. I just received a weird email from Costco. Well, you tell Costco that you don't need their BS. All right, here we go. Costco. You tell them Sam's Club or nothing. All right. I just blocked and report. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. All right, everyone. So there we go. We got in. We are officially done with the first draft of chapter now 4. Now, this is something I do want to talk about this a little bit. So, if I may, we'll go back to this. I want to explain something. Originally, this was 2 chapters. So these 3 chapters was 1 chapter in our zero draft outline. And this was 1 chapter and now 2 chapters. So from 2 chapters, we created a 5 chapter. Bam. Okay. So it's 3 chapters of the ordinary world. And now it's 2 chapters of the inciting incident. This is good. It's good. Right. You have to remember sometimes that's going to happen, especially if you're working in stages. Obviously, the zero draft can feel very constrained, and you're like, oh, I can fit these 3 scenes in there. But sometimes those scenes end up not necessarily being narratively connected, or, because you need a beginning, middle, and end of every chapter, but you need a beginning, middle, and end of every scene. Those scenes, if you have 2, 3, or 4 scenes in a chapter, still have to have an overall arc, even if you're switching POVs in those scenes. The thing I was noticing was that, Laura coming into space is a chapter, and crashing is the chapter, whatever. And the second chapter is them pulling the ship. The third chapter is her with her family. Those don't connect narratively in 1 chapter. So the right move was to break them up into 3 separate chapters. But that's the thing. It's going to happen when you're writing. And lean into it. Take a chance. Just feel it. That's your job as a writer. Is it's okay to break it up. I was talking to a buddy. What was it last? No, Friday, and he has a book that he feels is just going to be massive. It's his first foray into writing fiction. He normally writes uh, film. Um, so one of the things that we were talking about, I was like, look, just so you know, if you have 100 chapters, you have 100 chapters. If those chapters are 1,000 uh, words each, now you're looking at 100,000 words, right? But if I were you, don't allow the chapter count to intimidate you. All right. Because again, even if we look at, if let's go back to this, just look at it real quick. I'll bring it in a little thicker so you can see it. See, one chapter is 2,100 words. The other chapter is 1,000 words. And that's the thing. If I kept them as one chapter, it would have been 3,000 words, right? So it's all right to have multiple chapters. It's all right to fill up your book with chapters. I would not put a lot of weight into it, especially when you're working on the drafts. Now, once you get to your third draft, if your book is ballooning out way past what you expected, because again, you might want to traditionally publish, and there are certain limitations to the word counts. At that point, you have to just go back and say, am I able to convey certain information in less words or in less chapters? Do I really need this chapter that sits in a moment that is more for me? Like, you have to start making those choices once you get to the third draft. But again, if you're going to self-publish, you have a little bit more leeway. But I will still stand by, it is not necessarily the chapter count that is the issue. It is the flow of narrative purpose. Are these chapters earning their place? Are they connecting? Are they either setting up something? Are they challenging something? Or are they resolving something? Okay. Are the chapters complete chapters? Meaning, do they have their own beginning, middle, and ends? These are important things to know. Right now, we're looking at 34 chapters in this book, and that's including the prologue. Oh, no, that's not there's no prologue. There's no prologue or a blog in this book. So it's 34 chapters so far. Our goal was to make a chapter per plot point. So that's 27. So right now we are, what is that? 7. We are 7 chapters extended. That's not that bad. I think we're still doing very well with that. Right now, I feel we're doing good with that. So not this next chapter we're going to work on, like chapter 2.2, but I think what was initially chapter 3 will be a heavy chapter. So it's hyperspace, fix the hull out of hyperspace. But again, I might end up turning that into 2 or 3 chapters. And there's nothing wrong with that. So just be comfortable with expanding and shifting and deviating from the plan. All right. Other than that, let's get to the poll. By the way, if you have any questions, remember, you could ask me questions. All right, let's go to the poll. What makes you fall in love with a story you're writing? We have 4 choices. We have complex, layered characters. This is where there's a lot more depth to them, and we get to explore who they are, what they are, but more importantly, they are making choices based on their truths. Then we have a gripping, fast, or strong plot. This just means that you enjoy a plot that has something going on. It's doing a little bit more than nothing. You really get into the writing when the prose are beautiful and that you're like, wow, I'm actually moving this through. I don't know if you ever heard it. It's something like, oh, this book is it's literature, right? Literature is like when the prose are a little deeper. There's like surface level prose, nothing wrong with that. Brandon Sanderson is like surface level, where they just literally, they're invisible because they're just telling you exactly what you need to know. And there's no, this is not an insult to his writing, but there's no depth to it. You don't have to put a lot of thought as a reader into those prose. When it's literature, that means that the prose are doing a little bit more work. The prose are part of the experience. There might be a little bit of lyricalness to it, a little bit of purpley, but ultimately in literature, which is, again, there's no, one is not better than the other, but literature itself means that the prose themselves have character. They have movement. They are allowing the reader to feel something a little bit deeper because you're basically trying to make sense of it in your head. You're part of the discovery of those things. A Brandon Sanderson, though, you know, somebody is scared. He's like, he was scared. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that kind of writing. But there is a difference. And that's what that was supposed to be. Deep emotional truth. This is when you're writing about something that has themes and elements, and there's just something really human and filled with something deeper inside. And yes, the characters might be interesting and complex. The plot might be interesting and complex. But there's something more deeply truth in it. So far, fourth place is Zaro. And Zaro's beautiful Bella prose. That's all right. We got 13 votes. It happens. We got 12 people. If there's anyone new in the group and watching who hasn't voted yet, feel free to vote. I'll leave that up for a second longer. We'll give it a minute or two longer. I'm gonna go into my spiel. I got to do my spiel. I'm always told, Thomas, I don't actually like this part. I don't really like going, hey, I have stuff. But I would. Everybody in my circles are like, you gotta drop that and start being a little. So, if you've seen this before, you know that this isn't for you. I know you've seen this. I'm doing this for the the people who have seen it afterwards. But if you didn't know, I have books. Make a right left here.com. You can check it out if you like to. If you're interested in understanding what narrative is and narrative movement, this book explores that in the first half. So if you're a pantser, don't worry. It is not an outlining book in that sense. However, if you are an outliner, the second half of the book is with examples, a breakdown of outlining, specifically using the 27 plot point outline. Death of a King is available on Patreon and Substack. The pricing is identical for this book. It's just some people like Patreon, some people like Substack. The book is a series of the chapters being released one after the other each week. I am showing the zero draft, the first draft, and the third draft, and then, of course, short form and the extended outlines. But I'm also explaining and teaching and educating, showing you how you can approach your book as well and giving you an inside depth to it. The third draft versions are before the polished prose, so there are still things that need to be cleaned up, line editing, stuff like that. But you can see the evolution of that book. Of course, this book is currently available on makearightleft.com. Feel free to check it out. If you're looking to be successful, this is the first level. Book 1 of 5. Book 2 is currently being finalized with an amazing editor. And then, of course, this is not the cover of the book. I'm just using this as an art holder. I know people like the cover, but that's a picture of me, and I just was like, give me a noir background. However, the Roosevelt Files, Altar of Lies, the Zero Draft is currently available on Patreon and Substack. Again, I have made the first 5 chapters of both books, Death of a King and Roosevelt Files, free. Feel free to check those out. After the 5th one, it will go behind the paywall. However, it is also educational. It is only the zero drafts for this book, but it is educational. Other than that, please bloop the beard and bloop that like button. Every interaction, including shares, comments, and love, really do help elevate the algorithm for YouTube. It tells YouTube, hey, people are actually interested in this material. That helps my channel grow. The more my channel grows, the more opportunities I get to do for YouTube and the focus on it. If you didn't know, you can support me in many different ways. One is obviously subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. But more importantly, sharing the video and getting people to pay attention to this channel as we continue to grow. We are doing so much, and I'm so happy and so excited for the response and everybody's interaction, the comments. I get some comments, and it reminds me of why I do this, and they're so loving, and a lot of the dialogue is good. I'm enjoying the back and forth. The comments are amazing. They're just very rarely do I get a poorly received comment, and it means a lot to me. But more importantly, sharing the video. If you don't want to join the membership on YouTube or the membership on Patreon or a Substack, just liking the videos, sharing the videos is, I'm telling you right now that my heart pounds for that. But if you do join the membership on YouTube or the Patreon Substack, any one of those, you will get the lesson, the course that is being released. I'm on lesson 2. Lesson 3 will be out this Thursday. It's going to be a long course, but it is going to go into the intricate workings of literally how to write a narrative, from basically not necessarily outlining, but like how to organize your narrative. It's going to go into prose, it's going to go into editing, it's going to go into everything, and it's going to give you a lot of tools to really approach your writing. So I did it. Woo! I made sure I got everything for you, Thomas. All right, everybody. So much love, so much love. What we got here? What we got here? I'm more of a plot guy. I'm with you, sir. I like a plot. However, I will say, even plot-driven, like a Shakespeare, Sherlock Holmes is still, there's character. So, you know, I feel plot should still be pulled along through the character. But if there's no plot, if there's not something, if it's missing something interesting, I'm with you. I will still always be more of a character guy, but a plot is so important. I've been reading those chapters in the email. Have you been reading the Death of a King or the Noir? And are you enjoying it, or are you like, hey, I don't have time for this? Ditto. I think if the plot is good and you bring your style in the story writing, you're likely to be very successful. You know, that's an interesting perspective. I don't want to say no to that, but I do want to say even some of the greatest authors of our time will never be discovered because they're not marketing their books. You have to market yourself as an author, and you have to market your books, but you also have to advertise them. What's the difference? Marketing is more about what you stand for, your missions, morals, and purposes. It's your brand. It's how you represent your missions, morals, and purposes through presentation. Advertisement is, here's my stuff exists, you should buy it. That's either paid or not paid. You can write the greatest stuff in the world, but still, the best way to do it. Have you ever seen a musician out on the street busking, and they're just phenomenal, but they're like, please, I need $1? Greatness itself is not the successor. You must add marketing to that as well. So it's network, market, practice. Those 3 things will elevate your career because it's who you know, who knows you, and how well you know yourself. Those 3 things are so important to a successful career in any field. I like the emotional stuff. Gail is very in his feelings. I'm with emotional is, yeah. Yeah, when you could feel the characters, I think that's a wonderful, lovely thing to experience. I love feeling too, don't get me wrong. Oh, I'm so glad you had fun with this. Please come back next week. We do it every Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm so happy you stayed the entire, the length of it. And remember, if you have questions, or even if you think of questions during the week, write it down and then please ask me. This weekend time is not for me to go look at me write. It's for me to have a space for everyone to ask questions and for me to help people when and where I can. I like a plot. I need somewhere to go, but spuds and carrots. I mean, yeah, if it's a meandering kind of like character thing, that could be like, what's happening? You know, like nothing's really happening. I think when it goes to complex layered characters, you need a plot for sure. But to me, I will always stand by that. A strong plot is pulled through good character work, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm saying character-driven stories. I just believe choices need to be made, and the experiences of those choices need to be felt, and that would be the character. That's why I believe all narratives are plot and story. Plot is what needs to happen no matter what, and story is how it unfolds through the emotional experiences and choices of your characters. Really what excites me in writing is weaving the different plot points and connecting it all and finding a solution. I love that. Yeah, no, the architectural element of it, yeah, for sure. I do really love the before stuff. Like when I'm on the third draft, I'm really in character work. That's really where I'm going deep into the emotional experiences and choices. But all the stuff that leads up to there, yeah, that's my bag. I think it was the Altar of Lies. It was whatever the last one that was sent out. I read all the emails. Oh yeah, the last one was chapter 3 of Altar of Lies, the Roosevelt Files, the Altar of Lies. It's the one that's it's a detective-y, like it's crime. Chapter 3. I think you're on. I think that's the one where he goes and meets up with James Booty, his friend, Officer James Booty. Uh, James Booty is actually my insert of one of my buddies, who's basically like a brother to me. Uh, his last name is Booty, Boody, and James isn't really his first name, but James Booty, and his grandfather was a cop. So I was like, oh, I'll kind of like can give you that, and he loves James Booty. Yes, that one. Oh, good. I'm glad you're liking it. I'm glad you're liking it. I will be honest though, it does get a little adultish. Not sexy stuff, but other stuff. And it looks like I left off with plot 4 of my zero draft. And it looks like I left off with plotting. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Let's give you a little applause. Applause for the love of the game. Should I keep track of the word count on my stage? I have not counted thus far. Nah, you don't have to worry about that right now. SB, what we're doing we're focusing on learning how to just get into the page and learning how to the structure and process itself. The word count comes a little bit later. That's when we start kind of like use that for a different thing. I think I've talked about this. I keep track, so if I get hired, it allows me to know what my speed is. So I wrote this in X amount of time, and this is how many words it was. The other element is as you start getting used to your voice and the style in which you write, you could use those numbers to sort of do like predictive movement. You could be like, oh, all right, this the zero draft is X amount of words. So that means I might have to break it up into 2 chapters, or maybe I need a shorter chapter in between this one and that one. It's something it's predictive writing. I would recommend not having to worry about that right now. But then I got hit with a low energy session. My friend, remember, it's not about how many words you write. It's just that you did write. Believe it or not, one word is just as important as 1,000 words, just as thinking about your story is as important as writing one word. Sitting in the ideas is as important. That's part of writing. Remember, writing is easy. Sarah met Chris. Anyone could write that. Sarah met Chris in a deli. Sarah met Chris in a deli that his family owns. Sarah met Chris at a deli his family owns, and she got nervous when she saw him. Right? Like, you could just keep building on ideas. Writing is very easy. Being a writer is difficult. Being a writer is taking that and now creating choices and emotional experiences for your characters. It's about figuring out whys, right? The writing part is hard. And thinking and sitting in ideas, that's what being a writer really is. It's figuring out how to break your story. And when I say break your story, it means like, how do I disrupt it? How do I find the holes? How do I make it harder for my characters? It is a process. And believe it or not, a lot of times it's not about getting the words down. It's just about the brain. Yeah, the dance was shady, red like it was written from first-hand experience. Thomas is a very naughty boy. The dance was shady. Let me tell you something. I have only ever been in a strip club once, and I was hired by a television production company to be at that strip club to film a scene. It was all organized by a studio, and everyone was actors. I have never been into a strip club. other than that one time to specifically work on that show as a Santa Claus. Yes, the strip club in the show was called the North Pole. Uh, and I played one of many Santa Clauses. Anyway, Madison met Aston at the Smithsonian. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah, yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that is writing. That yeah, writing is easy. Madison met Aston at Smithsonian. Yep. That old chestnut. I went to a strip club on my 21st birthday. I don't remember most of that night. I had too much tequila. Tequila. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. True story. True story. True story. All right. For research, yeah, it was for research purposes. Research purposes. Funny thing that happened that day though. They asked one of the girls if she wanted to not actually give a lap dance, but like perform the way they were gonna film it would look like she was giving a lap dance, but she was like, yeah, I would totally love to do that. And they were like, all right, we're gonna bring you over. And she thought they were gonna give it to like this guy who was like in his like mid-20s. She was probably in her 30s, but this guy was like in his mid-20s. He was easily 6 foot something. He was really muscular. The suit barely fit him. All right. And they pulled that guy out of a spot. And then they said to me, they go, would you like to, all right, come on and sit down. And I don't look anything like an attractive 6-something muscular, blonde hair, blue eye kind of guy. Right. I don't look anything like that. I'm Mediterranean. And she was like, no, I don't want to. I'll tell you this. I feel I'm an attractive 5. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel comfortable at 5. If somebody thinks I'm a 9 because they think I'm a 9, fine. You're allowed, whatever. But I walk around as a comfortable 5. But I want you to understand that day, on this day, I felt like a 1. Because I was there the whole time. She's like, yes, I would love to. And then like they grab the guy and she's like, has this like face of like euphoria. She's like, this is going to be the best. And they pull him out of the way and they sat me down. They go, all right, you're going to be working with this guy. And she's like, I don't want to do it. And I was just like, I was like, please, like get someone else. I don't mind that I'm not used. Because, you know, whatever, do the show. But it was just fun times. I went to the strip club when I was 15. Someone had to walk my mom home. That's funny. Never stripped in a strip club either. Yeah, they usually give me clothes when I walk into strip clubs. They go, please. It was an ouch. It was, and again, I do not walk around with, in my mind, like I'm an 8 or a 9 or a 10. Like I'm a comfortable 5 because I feel other people would give me, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't think I'm unattractive, but I don't think I'm like gorgeous. But if I want to be in that sweet spot where people can place their own, but I will be honest, it was hard. It was like, what? You know, I was like, am I that grotesque? It wasn't like I was like, yes, lap dance time. You know, I was just standing. I was like, all right, how do you want to do this? And I was like, what would make you comfortable? Because, you know, I'm happy not to do the part. If you want someone else to come in, that's fine with me. I'm, you know, whatever. You got to do what you got to do. But you're not actually going to be touching me. And, you know, what would make you comfortable? And she's like, I just decided that I don't want to do it. And I was like, you can't even see my face. Like I had the Santa Claus beard on and I had the, you know, it was very, It was very upsetting. Not to my ego though, but I was like, you know how? There. It's so funny. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but even blind people find me. Anyway, all right. Was that a 1 inch? It was a 1 inch punch right to the chest. Anyway. Oh, let me tell you the second half of that story. It's all coming back to me. This was many years ago. What is this? 2015, I think. So anyway, we go back to holding. So like in acting, if you're background or if you're an actor or whatever, there's like an area, a holding area for like between shots so they can set the area up, whatever. And like they'll get stand-ins and stuff and get all the lighting. So you go to holding. Anyway, we go to holding after that experience. Okay, and whatever. I think it was lunchtime actually. So they were feeding us, and a bunch of my buddies were there, and they're all talking to me, and they're all asking me about the projects I'm working on. They mentioned that they said the word producer to me because I was a producer on stuff, right? And that I was a writer and I write screenplays and all this stuff. Of all the people, who do you think came over to me and asked me if it would be okay if they gave me their email and I could think of them for projects? I'll give you a hint, but I won't say who it is. I was so angry. I was like, this is the problem with the industry. This is one of the reasons I really left the industry, because you're nobody, but if you could do something for somebody, you're the most important person in the room. And how can you help me? And it's never like, how can we work together? It's always, how can you help me? Right? And I was always the person that was always like, how do I bring people together? It was very upsetting. Very upsetting. Anyway, it is not a green room. A green room is for like a performer or a comedian or an actor getting ready to go on stage to perform. The holding area is where like a large groups of people are herded to, and ultimately that's where they sit and wait. It is not a green room in essence. It's usually like, believe it or not, they usually rent churches and they put us in churches. When I worked on Birdman with Michael Keaton, the holding was actually the theater. So if you've ever seen the movie, they film like they have like the theater show that they're putting on. Like that's the basis of it. They're filming. They're doing a theater show in the movie. That theater, it was holding, so we got to hang out in the theater and just wait for our time. I slept for 4 hours one time in holding. It's wasted money. It's so crazy. And they know, wake up, we got to go do the shot, and then the shot is like an hour, and then you go back to holding. But also the rest of the building was holding too. So yeah, holding and green room is slightly different. The woman who treated you like dirt. Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Let's say, woo! You got that one. I'm so pissed. Hey, Laura. Welcome to the show. Yes, the stripper indeed. The stripper indeed. The one who wouldn't. Yes. I was nobody, and then I was somebody. I was very nice, though. I was like, yeah, I'll take your email. I obviously didn't respond. I didn't reach out to her. But it's moments like that really upset me, because like even when I had my theater, all right, so I'm not gonna name names, but there was this comedian, all right, that I knew as I was growing up in the comedy world, and I had known this guy for at least 7 years at this point, and they didn't like me. I didn't really like them, and they unfriended me and blocked me on everything. I opened up my theater. Okay, and everybody's talking about the theater, and it was a really nice space. It was a beautiful theater. And he sends me a friend request on Facebook. Now, remember, he blocked me. So I turned to like my employees, whatever, and I was like, watch this. I'm going to accept the friend request. And the first message is going to be, I heard you got a theater. I would love to have my improv group come there and perform. And I went, and we all made our bets, and then I hit accept. And then within a couple minutes, bloop, hey man, congratulations. I heard you got a theater. I have an improv group. We would love to perform at your theater. People. If anyone's ever bought the book, the How to Be Successful book, throughout the entire book, including the second book, that all the books, I'm always like, don't use people. Like my message is clear. Like it's about community. It's about building real, authentic relationships. It's about trying to do something together. And it's just being in the industry for over 20 years and just the music industry, comedy, even the comic book industry. When I worked in the comic book, it's all the same. You have these people that are just like, how can you help me? It's literally, I am meeting you. Hello, my name is. How can you help me? There's no relationship established, nothing. Oh, you have XYZ resources? Nice to meet you. How can you help me? But then there's the other people. There are people like Adam Sandler in this industry that a lot of my friends work with, and they start out as nobodies. I say nobodies respectfully, but they started out as like a PA or whatever, and now they're writing for him, right? It's because Adam Sandler is like, how do I pull in people and cultivate them? How do I build my community and my team? And there's a lot of people like that. Martin Scorsese is one of them. And obviously and I'm saying this completely respectfully because I love the governor. He's a good person. But he is aging out. But there are new people. There are the next Martin Scorsese's, the next Adam Sandler's. And even in the writing world, like the book world, like we're a community. We're supposed to be helping one another. You got a book coming out? I'm going to share it. You got this? Oh, let me get you on as an interview, right? But it should go the other way around too. It should be everybody, not everybody, but you should find your community. You should find your people. And that's really how you find success, is by working together. And like, anyway, yeah, I could go on about that. I get emotional about this stuff. Hey, JK, am I missing the T? My dear, you may or may not have missed the tea. Good tea, too. It was delicious tea. I'm also missing the tea. Hey, Joanne, we'll have to catch up later. Agreed. She should have offered you. I mean, she was getting paid a good money for the day to do it, but of course they did. Yeah, it was when they sent me that message. Hey, congratulations! I heard you opened the theater. I told them to come in. I was like, sure, come on in. Was that a reverse Weinstein moment? Yeah, I guess it was. It was a reverse Weinstein. Yeah. I was talking to my buddy again. The guy on Friday. He works in the industry. He's a locations manager. He's like a department head, and we were talking about like there's a difference between. This is the problem with the industry, okay, and not just film and television. This is power. Power draws interest. Knowledge draws interest. Money draws interest. Influence draws interest. And there's a certain point, for example, when I opened the theater, I had influence, right? I could put you on or not. So therefore, I had interest. I had interest from people I didn't know, interest from people I did know. I had interest from people that didn't like me or did like me. I ultimately control who goes on the stage, right? And that's a lot of power because you're opening the door for some. So I had a lot of days in the year where somebody who has zero experience could just come in and use the stage. You're a writer, come in, hang out. I have this group of writers, work with them. All free. I didn't charge. It was just somewhere where people can cultivate their skills and talent. My only objection to helping people was, are they selfish and using others? All right, with that said, that kind of influence was attractive to other people. Right. And so my friend and I, what we were talking about was imagine that small influence that got people near my orbit is a Harvey Weinstein. At the beginning, there's a small chance that it was uncomfortable. But what happens with people that don't know how to regulate And Weinstein is definitely someone who doesn't know how to regulate himself. Clearly, he's a freaking monster. But there was a moment where I can help you and you're attracted to me, but I still want to help you. Switch to I can help you, and they're clearly you're attracted to me, even though they weren't. Like there had to be a moment where that power became enticing to that person and it became a monstrous tool. And that's what happens in this industry. People take advantage of others. So it's interesting. Like when I was doing it, my goal was to make it a safe environment, make it a community, make it like there were some days where I was working in the office because like the theater was broken up in two sections, and I'd walk into the theater like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there'd be like 4 or 5 kids hanging out in there. Yeah, I knew who they were, but I didn't even know they were in there, and they would because that was the kind of community I had. You know, I was like, just come here and use the space to think. You can hang out in the green rooms, and you can hang out in the concession room. But then there are people that literally they know they have that influence and they take advantage of people. And there are other people who go the other way. I will use that influence and I will use that to build my career. And I guess I've always been that person that said, how do I change that? How do I change that system? How do I show people you don't have to do that? You know, and yeah. My little crew was we were known for that. Team Rise Together was, we help people all the time. So I could go on about this for days. I'm glad that I'm just writing now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm relaxed that I'm semi-retired. Did I block him? No. What happened was they came to me and I told them a ridiculous price to rent the theater. And they agreed to it. And then that was it. So you want this? I don't want you here. So I'm going to give you a crazy stipulation. And if you accept it, fantastic. So that was it. And I was very transparent with that too, because my prices were very low and everybody knew they were low. But I was like, look, this is how I'm going to do it for you if you really want this. It happens in other businesses too. My mom managed a department in the casino. Well, yeah, definitely the casinos. My family used to work in that system, and I worked there. Oh, you worked there too, and had good friends there until I was no longer needed to make. It definitely, yes, it hurts to be used, my friend. It definitely hurts to be used. It's a hard truth sometimes. Leeches and parasites everywhere, mate. Yep, 100%. And I don't know. It's painful. I did that to someone who wanted a logo for free, all because I knew them for years. They didn't want to pay, so I told them a high amount and they walked away. And you know what's crazy? I bet you they found someone else and paid them. You know, look, this is how I approach free. If it's not an inconvenience to me and you're a good person, I don't mind doing little things. But there is a big difference between, like, for example, in the industry, when I was filming, like as a producer, me introducing you to somebody and helping you get in there, not an inconvenience, especially if I trust you and I know you're a good person. Like, I have a lot of buddies that were like, I just want to get in the industry. And I would just introduce them to the right person at the right time. And I'd be like, all right, now you got to do your part. You got to show up. You got to do right by them. But then I had people that said, could you write a full script for me and work it and do all this stuff? And I go, yeah, it's going to cost this. I'm going to give you my friend rate. It's going to cost this much. And then they'd be like, oh, that's too much money. And I go, this is like literally beans. And they'd be like, no, can you do it for free? And then I'd be like, all right, well, what? Then I'd ask for a business plan. I'd be like, well, what's your plan? Oh, we're gonna pitch it to festivals. I go, well, then I'm not interested because festivals isn't how you get picked up. Oh, but this movie and this movie, I go, they were already picked up, and then they used the festival to market it. It's called a launch pad. And they're like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. I go, if I'm gonna put time into it, I want points on the back end. If I have points on the back end, not only will I write the script, I'll help you promote it. I'll help you meet the right people. I'll help bring in financing. Like, let's get into it. I don't mind becoming a partner, but that's a different situation. But I do have price. I have friend rates, and then I have the I don't want to work with you rates, and then I have like business rates. But it really comes down to the person too. I'm very accommodating. I'm very accommodating, but there is a you're using me. There is that level, and once that happens, I'm like, out. I think the industry attracts the monsters because they know they're. I'm not disagreeing with you, Em, but if I may, I don't feel everyone started out as a monster, but it is enticing once you start feeling the power. I very much learned how to regulate myself during my music days. So one of the big things I'm very proud of is I didn't do drugs, I didn't drink, I never smoked a cigarette, none of it. But also, I didn't have sex with people. So in the music industry, it's everywhere. And people will always be like, you don't want anything? You don't want this? And I'd always, if a girl came up to me, I'd be like, well, what's my name? And they'd be like, it's Telmo Altanian. I go, that's not my name. You don't know me. We can't, I'm not interested. Because I would have my stage name. I didn't use my real name. And people were shocked. They were like, how, why? And I go, because I have standards. You know what I'm saying? Like I have my morality. I have nothing against anybody who did that stuff. I did not look down on those people. It's just I had very specific morality that I lived by. But it can be very tempting, especially when you're in your early 20s and you're just surrounded by lots of money, lots of free drugs, lots of women, and guys too, like for the opposite, there were girl bands and other stuff going on. And you would see people that weren't like that. Like I have a friend that I am no longer friends with. They went from being this really nice, down to earth person to somebody who became a heroin addict. And they they got a record deal and they got an advance and they spent that advance on a car and then drugs. And then the record label's like, when is the album going to be done? And they says, well, where do you want us to go? And what studio are you guys paying for? And they're like, we gave you the advance to pay for the studio and marketing. And they're like, oh, I bought a car and it's just because, it is a thing. You have to have good people around you. And I feel I had really good people in my camp. And two, you have to regulate yourself. You have to remember you're a no one, even though you are a someone. And when I was producing stuff and I had the team rise together and I'd have like 100 people at these events and they'd all treat me like crap because they didn't know who I was. And then as soon as they realized I was the host or I was the person who, whatever, they all were like, here's my card. They were all nice to me. They'd be like, oh, sorry, I didn't know you were the. I'm like, well, why are you sorry? You should be treating everyone nice. Like that, right? But that's a lot of power. Somebody literally changing their persona to appease you. Of course, for certain people, not all people are monsters coming in, but it's a slippery slope to go from I had nothing to everybody, you know what I'm saying? And you can fall into that horrible, horrible beast of a person. And yeah, it was great. But men and women, by the way, there were some female producers and male producers that yeah, they're pretty aggressive. They're pretty aggressive. Anyway, I could talk about that for hours. All right, what we got here? Is there sure thing as too soon to start marketing? There is no such thing as too soon. You should be marketing now. Marketing is not buy my book. Marketing is your journey as an author. Marketing is your trials and tribulations. Marketing is posting and talking about the things that matter to you. Marketing is not buy my book. Now, if the majority of your stuff brings in an audience and the majority of your stuff builds brand awareness, then you can start saying, I have a book available or buy my book. Because now you're servicing the supply, the demand. If you try to supply the demand before the demand is there, you're going to push people away. So the way you get around that is by being your truthful self and by talking about your truth and the things that matter to you, and then you'll find your community. Fans will be naturally drawn to you because you're talking about similar things that they like. You have opinions that they like. They're watching you and forming an emotional connection to you. It's like building friendships because that's what it is. And those fans will become friends. So there is no such thing as marketing too soon. Advertising, on the other hand, you have to have a demand to advertise. Advertise is literally, I have this Pepsi, you should buy it. Marketing is, I drink Pepsi. Right? Like, I'm like, this Pepsi was good today. That's marketing. That's the big difference. Marketing is I drink Pepsi. Advertisement is I have Pepsi for sale. If I'm going to start a YouTube channel and talk about my writing journey and it takes me, let's say, a year to do, you think people will not lose interest as long as what you're talking about is consistently a very specific brand to yourself, the things that matter. Now, if you start a YouTube channel and you talk about your writing and you're 6 months in, or let's say a year, you're a year in, and now you start talking about how like you're making juice and you love juices and you drink all natural juices, and you're going to lose your audience because they're not there to follow the juice journey. You will gain a new audience that likes juice and the juice journey. And now when you go, I have a book, and the book has nothing to do with the juice journey, people will be like, what's going on? However, if the YouTube is about your writing journey, then it doesn't matter what the book is about. The book can be about juicing. The book can be a fantasy. The book can be a nonfiction. It's because it's your journey is what they're following. They're focused on you. They're focused on your trials and tribulations. But if you're like, I'm a writer, and then you just start talking about exercising, or you start talking about flowers, or you start talking about mechanics stuff. I have a buddy who has a YouTube channel. It blew up. And the reason it blew up is because he released several videos in a row that were about a very specific thing, which was taking apart an engine, or the other video was a transmission, or the other video was a cam, whatever. And then putting it together, basically rebuilding it. Then he started releasing videos on him working in the racing industry. And he's like, why am I not getting any views anymore? I go, because your audience blew up on those 3 or 4 videos about taking apart things specifically for cars and then putting them together. And you're very knowledgeable on it. You're a mechanic. He's like, yeah, but I want to use that audience to do this. I go, then you have to make a different YouTube channel that's specifically focused on car racing. And he didn't understand. And the thing is, because one, you brand yourself on what you post. No matter what you believe, your missions, morals, and you have to post that stuff. I did have self-respect. I still have self. That's why I don't dye my beard. I'm proud of my age. I've only done one video so far, SB. I think if people are truly interested, they'll show up. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I know this is the heart thing. I see it on the other thing. Much love to you. I agree. Power can corrupt, but everything is a choice. It for sure is a choice. The dark side doesn't show up on a Tuesday afternoon. It always... All right, that I agree. I think, yeah, the permission element, like... But also there is that the choice is there. You're on the line. You have the option. I think depending on the people around you and the self-regulation, you should go the right way, go left for the right way. But some people, I mean, I'll put it to you. Your dream is to make a movie, and you meet somebody, you're new, your eyes are wide, you don't understand the industry, and somebody recognizes that passion in you, and they go, I can help you, kid. I'll finance your film, but now you say, all right, the butt isn't too bad. I'm making a film, and the film's going to help people, and, all right. Then you finish the film, felt great. They followed through. You might have done something sketchy for the butt, and then they come back. Oh, you want to do another one? Okay, but. And it starts feeling really easy. But the thing is, easy isn't always good. And that was something that I would say my father and my father's father, my grandfather, were good influences on that reality. That, I guess I could, this isn't a big thing, but when the mafia was a thing, there was a couple of family members that may or may not have been there, but they approached my father when he was getting to a certain age, and he went to my grandfather, his father, and my father told me a story as a lesson, and my grandfather basically beat him up. He says, that's what your life will be if you did that. You don't need that. Don't join. You don't need that. It's fine to have them on the periphery. It's fine to know these people. It's fine to have them as family, but you don't get involved. Stay away from them. And that's something that really stuck to me. And it's like, who do you want to be around? And when I was growing up, I worked around that. I was very much around that system. I very much. So again, I was a pizzeria guy, an Italian, Sicilians. But you have to make the choice. Do I want this thing that's easy, or do I want that? One time I was maybe 13 years old, and a guy was like, hey, go get me a pack of cigarettes at the the Italian cigarette store next door. This is when I was working at the pizzeria from 12 to 16. And I come back, and he goes, here. And he gave me $100. Now, I kept $100. But in my mind, I was like, taking that money and being in a situation where I get that money, that is not what I'm interested in. I knew at that young age, I was like, that felt, that $100 should have weight to it. And for someone to just give me $100 as a tip, like, for some reason, my 13-year-old brain was like, there should be more weight to this. Something feels iffy, something feels sketchy. So, like, I had that kind of growing up. And that helped, to be able, that was part of the regulation, was I'm seeing things and I think about stuff. I don't just do things. No, it wasn't a victim blaming. The predators know exactly who they prey. Well, what I'm saying is, with that person that's like, it was easy, and people take advantage, that person becomes the predator because they're being taught the system and they're seeing how easy it is, and then they're like, wait, I could do this to other people. The thing in the entertainment industry, especially film and television, is once they start seeing their old habits in new people, they go, I was taken advantage of. Not everybody, but it's a learned thing. And then they start this kind of repetitive system. You're a 10 in my eyes. See you later, Gator. I'll see you later tonight, SB. I'll see you later, my friend. 8.5 for me, and I'm jealous of the beard. I only grow the beard for you. Oh, we've been doing this. See, I could go on and on. I'm sorry. All right, I've been rambling. All right, my friends, let's end the poll. The poll, we have 16 votes. Fantastic. Top vote was complex, layered characters. Second place was a gripping, fast, or strong plot with 31%. And, of course, deep emotional truths, 12%. End the poll. There are no wrong answers. Thank you very much for playing along. The eyes do it for me. My hazels. My dark hazel eyes. All right, everybody. I didn't realize what time it was. I got to get going. I had a lot of fun. Thank you for sitting through my ramble rabble. I'm glad we got another chapter finished. It is time to... Oh, that's... Thank you. You're going to make me blush. All right. Ooh, flowers, I'll see you all. Everybody, so much love. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. I'm off. Gonna get a little something yum, 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 yums. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Okay. Boo.